Hello everyone, welcome back to D&D Fight Club. This is Zero here, and today we're taking another look at the Simple Builds and Why They Work series. This episode, we're looking at the Endurance Wizard. Now, a basic overview of this build. This works right from level 1, and it can stretch all the way to level 20, but you're going to be taking one class for most of that. There is an alternate variant for taking another class that just kind of delays things a little bit and makes you much more tanky. However, we'll get to that in a little bit. So, for the overview of the main build, your race, you'd prefer to have either custom lineage or variant human, for the feat of course. Both of them would take the Eldritch Adept feat, which I'll go over on the next slide. The other option is that you can take Deep Gnome, but it requires the Snot Rocket Magic feat, and that kind of delays it working until 4th level because you can't take that right at level 1. As far as your class goes, of course, it's Wizard, 1 to whatever you want to do, and we're taking the School of Abjuration for their Arcane Ward. The goal for this is one of the only builds that can truly fight for the entire day, taking some damage and never actually expending any resources. And this works almost at any level. It's inherently a wizard's job to kind of stay at the back of the party and not take damage. However, this build, if you do end up taking some damage, it's going to be either your ward or your temp HP that just eats that damage up. So you shouldn't really have to worry about it. So, Eldritch Adept, this is how it reads. Studying occult lore, you have unlocked Eldritch power within yourself. You learn one Eldritch invocation option of your choice from the Warlock class. If the invocation has a prerequisite, you can choose that invocation only if you're a Warlock and only if you meet the prerequisite. Whenever you gain a level, you can replace the invocation with another one from the Warlock class. So at level 1, since we don't have our Arcane Ward yet to charge, we're going to choose Fiendish Vigor, which means you can cast False Life on yourself at will as a first level spell without expending a spell slot or material components. False Life allows you to roll a d4 and then you add the 1d4 plus 4 temp HP. And now being able to cast this at will, you can always just take the time to re-roll until you have the maximum 8 temp HP. That should be enough to get you through just about any level 1 encounter. Now, once we hit level 2 and we get our Arcane Ward, then we switch over to the Armor of Shadows invocation, which allows us to cast Mage Armor at will on yourself without expending spell slot or material components. Now, Mage Armor does two things. One, it sets your AC to 13 plus Dex, so it's basically studded leather. And the second thing is that it is an abjuration spell, so it recharges our Arcane Ward, but we'll get into that in just a second. Now, here's the Arcane Ward. Starting at 2nd level, you can weave magic around yourself for protection. When you cast an abjuration spell of 1st level or higher, you can simultaneously use a strand of the spell's magic to create a magical ward on yourself that lasts until you finish a long rest. The ward has hit points equal to twice your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. Whenever you take damage, the ward takes the damage instead. If this damage reduces the ward to 0 HP, you take any remaining damage. While the ward has 0 hit points, it can't absorb damage, but the magic still remains. Whenever you cast an abjuration spell of 1st level or higher, the ward regains a number of hit points equal to twice the level of the spell. Once you create the ward, you can't create it again until you finish a long rest. So a couple things that I want to break down in here. First, whenever you cast an abjuration spell of 1st level or higher, it doesn't say you have to expend a spell slot or that you have to expend material components to do this. So those at-will spells, that Mage Armor at will, works for recharging the ward. Second thing I want to note is the ward has hit points equal to twice your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. The intelligence modifier is nice, it gives it like a +3 or a +4 boost right off the start, but the twice your wizard level. So essentially, the ward is adding 2 HP per level to your character, similar to what like the tough feat would do. And that is equivalent to raising the hit die by 2 stages. So essentially you have a fighter's hit die, just with this feature. And that's only considering that you can use it once a long rest. And you can clearly use it more than that, so you're already almost as tanky as a fighter. The last part. Whenever you cast an abjuration spell 1st level or higher, the ward regains a number of hit points equal to twice the level of the spell. So, this is why the Deep Gnome was another option, but it's not one that I usually advocate for. So your variant human, every 6 seconds you can cast Mage Armor once, so that regains twice the level of the spell, so 2, regains 2 hit points to your ward, 1 round. But the Snot Rocket Magic feat, that lets you cast Non-Detection at will, which is a 3rd level spell, so you're regaining 6 hit points per 6 seconds per 1 round. So it is a little bit faster, But in my opinion, if you're that worried about recharging your ward quickly, then something else is wrong. You shouldn't be worried about it that much. You should be using this ward as a just in case more than a reason to be up there and taking damage. And if you're having to recharge your ward in the middle of combat, that's, again, probably something else is wrong. So here's the alternate version, like I was saying, where you take Deep Gnome, Snot Rocket Magic, and then you can cast Nod Detection at will. Again, as flavorful as it is, and as fun as it is to be able to recharge 6 HP on your ward for every round, it's just not worth it, because it delays you being able to do any of this stuff until level 4. So, kind of rounding this all up, again, you're really tanky with this, because not only do you have the fighter's hit die, essentially, if it's just once a long rest, but you can recharge that HP, versus a fighter, they only get second wind, which is a D10 plus their fighter level, and they can do that once a short rest. Whereas you can basically infinitely regen that buffer of HP that you have, which is going to start at like 5 or 6, even at level, or actually no, that would be 6, 7, something like that at level 2. So it's excellent for multi-encounter days, where you can be recharging your ward in between encounters to continue to take damage. And at 6th level, when you gain the Project Ward feat, then you're able to not even worry about you being the one taking damage. You can use your ward to protect your, I don't know, your Barbarian or your Fighter, your Paladin. Whenever they're up there taking the heavy hits, you're allowed to protect for them. Utility from the Wizard spell list, of course, tanking from your Abjuration ward, and blasting, again, from the Wizard spell list. All of this, really it starts at level 1, but it comes online with the features we've been talking about at level 2. So, I hope that this has been informative for you guys. If you learned anything new, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want to see on here. We're always open to new ideas. This has been Zero for Fight Club, signing off.